Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the December and final Catch Up with Keeper webinar. While we wait for folks to join us, would love if folks can hop on in the chat, whoever's here, and let us know where you are taking the Zoom from. All right. Well, I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas if you celebrate and a happy holidays, long, relaxing weekend break if you don't. And we're going to go ahead and get things started. So once again, thank you all so much for taking the time. We've done an exciting set of updates in case this is your first ever Catch Up with Keeper webinar. Here's the way things work. We'll start with a walkthrough of all the latest changes we've shipped in the last month here at Keeper. After that, we will dive into a Q&A for any questions people have about those updates or anything else related or otherwise. And we don't have an app showcase today, so it should be a pretty quick webinar update this week. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and dive in. And one more thing, if you do have a Q&A, please drop it into the Q&A section rather than the chat. Just makes it a little bit easier for us to monitor and make sure that we answer them. Okay, first things first, again, more behind the scenes performance improvements this month focused on both the client list and the task list. So you should see those loading faster as you go to those respective pages. And that continues our push on making Keeper a snappier, more responsive, faster loading experience and app to use. Okay. Couple of improvements here on the close page. One super small little flourish that maybe some of you haven't even noticed is if you go to switch your close, so you're going to switch from, let's say, the June 2022 close to an earlier one, you can actually see the status of your respective closes. So if you have multiple different closes that are open at the same time, you can easily see which ones you still need to work on. All right. Next update for those of you who work with construction clients or clients who need to bill expenses, you can now manage those directly here within Keeper. First things first that I'll mention is you do have to have customers or projects enabled as a setting on this particular file. If you do have that up and running, then anytime you go to look at a particular transaction and you go to the transaction line items, you should see this billable column. So if we wanted to make this billable, first thing that we need to do is just apply it to a customer. And then once we've done that, billable will become editable and we can mark a transaction as billable. Next major update, we showed this on an earlier showcase, but we have now made this available to everyone, and that is Files 2.0. So Files 2.0 is our complete overhaul of the way that files work in Keeper, and we have aligned them to work more closely with how a normal filing system works. So here you can see in our file system, let me just make sure. Okay, we've got some AI assistants who are recording things. So this should work just the way that any normal file system works. So you've got folders, subfolders, you can move things around, you can actually copy folder structures from one client to another. And best of all, you can actually bulk edit. So we can come in here and check multiple files, bulk delete them, bulk move them, and bulk download them all right here from the files interface. In addition to that, this is what we call our custom folders. And so this is, as I mentioned, going to work very similar to the way a normal file foldering system works. Below that, we have our auto-organized folders. And this is where any anything that sort of the old version of files will all continue to live here. Basically, the way this works is if you drag and drop a file and attach it to any object in Keeper, then that is going to show up here in your auto-organized folder. So for example, if you attach a file to a vendor, or a vendor uploads a document from the client portal or your vendor requests, then that's going to show up in your vendors. Similarly, with transactions, all your transaction attachments will roll in here. If you upload a file to a task, like you upload a statement to a reconciliation task, you'll see that here as well. Okay, so that's files. Next is we released our receipts functionality into a small private beta that we're gradually letting more folks into. We have a much more in-depth look at what the receipts functionality looks like on a prior update here, so I won't recap everything, but basically all of files lives right here in your client uploads inbox. And so your clients can upload a file via the portal. You can upload a file right from here. Your clients can email forward in receipts, text in receipts, and they'll all come right here into the inbox. So there's nothing new that you need to teach your clients about. They just continue to upload files the way they're used to, and then they can also forward in files the way they may be used to if you use another file system. And then things will get brought here into Keeper. We'll automatically identify the files that are transaction related. We'll pull them down here into a table, very similar to the transaction tables that you are used to working with in Keeper already. We'll apply rules, we'll apply AI to automatically suggest vendors, suggest categories, suggest descriptions, things like that. Suggest potential matches instead of posting transactions. And then you can post the transaction. And once you post that transaction, of course, the file will get moved over into the transaction in QuickBooks as well. And you can also see it there, and you'll also continue to be able to see the file here in Keeper too. All right. And then one more feature update to talk about. I'm going to talk about it here, even though it is sort of pervasive throughout the application, and that is the addition of comment thread resolution. So as we rolled out Comments 2.0 a couple of months back, one of the loudest pieces of feedback was that users needed a way to see, essentially, if you want one of your team members to do something, how do you know that that's still outstanding? And so with the addition of comment thread resolution, this should provide a much more concrete way to see the things that you've assigned someone or someone's assigned you that still need to be taken care of. So the way this works, you'll see next to any comments icon, you'll see a 1 right here, for example. And what that 1 indicates is that means that you have one open comment. So in this case, I've @tagged test user, and I've told them to move a particular transaction to prepaids, add it to the tracker, and amortize it over the next 12 months. We can see that comment is open. We can also resolve it here. Basically, open means there's something you still need to do. When you @tag someone in a comment, so if I @tag test user, just say hello, the act of @tagging is going to create a comment that is open. So you can see here that also got added to the open. If you don't need this to actually be resolved, you can also just mark it resolved right here. You can see all of your comments open and resolved right here in the all comments feed, just like normal. And you can also see the date a comment was open or resolved. And then, of course, you can reopen things if you still need to action them. All right. Well, that is it for the Keeper product update for this month. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the Q&A, and I'll field some questions. Okay. Kate asked, can metrics be exported or saved to a template to apply to other clients? Not yet, although this is definitely something that we want to add to metrics in the very near future. So definitely we'll send over the canny on that one, and then we'll let you know as soon as that's live. Second question was also on metrics. Quarterly clients is a question about how to show quarterly clients metrics. The metrics for quarterly clients were only showing monthly data. It's the beginning of December. So right now, all metrics are monthly. Again, that is another thing that we want to improve about metrics. So we'll let you know as soon as that's live as well. Okay, Tyler asked if there's plans to have a transaction review task based off billable and non-billable. We're still doing some sort of R&D on that. The way the data comes in from QuickBooks is a little finicky. So hopeful that the answer to this is yes, that we can have a transaction review task for transactions that are billable versus non-billable, and the ability to do things like create saved search reports on that. Okay, Nicholas asked, if you're a one-person firm, can you default auto assign every created task yourself? You can't, but that's a really interesting idea, even more broadly for teams to have like a task default assigned to particular users, whether that's one particular user or a role like a prepare, reviewer, or a manager. All right. Well, it looks like that is all of our questions so far this month. So we'll give folks another 30 seconds or so to see if we have any other questions. Otherwise, we will go ahead and wrap this up and let folks get back to the last working week of the year before we head into 2024. Tyler asked, that was my vacation. So for those of you who have emailed me in the last week, you'll know that I was out of office. And Tyler, it was very relaxing. Thank you. All right. Well, once again, Merry Christmas to all who celebrate. Happy. Hope everyone has a relaxing and productive last 4 working days of the year. I hope everyone has a happy New Year's. Looking forward to seeing all of you and many of you again in person in the year to come in 2024. And then just again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much, both for being on this call as well as for trusting us and trusting us to work with you in your business. And we're excited to continue to work with y'all and have a lot of good things in store. So thank you all so much, and have a happy New Year.